What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 25. We're going to take the easy way out, and it is going to
Yeah.
be the Donnie Nikki episode.
Yes.
I almost gave it to my boy Bradley Roby because he wore 25 for a little bit.
I get it.
But, since we didn't do this from the jump, I couldn't give the number one episode to him, but we're going to give it to Donnie Nikki.
There we go.
Out to our boy Ryan, Card Collector 2, Grove City.
Yep.
He's an all-time favorite Buckeye.
Yeah.
So, as always, Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. This man has been busy today. What is going on, sir?
Oh, not much, man. Getting ready for vacation. Man, adding a third now walker, into the mix. Last year when we went, it was, she was like a couple weeks old. So it was like super easy. Didn't have to worry about much. But dude, it's stressful times. But my wife and I, we are battling. And, we're getting ready to get the van packed up and we'll be hitting the road super early. So yeah, we're excited. It's going to be a good time up in northern Michigan. It's like 65 degrees up there right now. So it's
it's beautiful.
It's like perfect. So how's your weekend been?
Good. Getting ready as soon as we done. By the way, this is a Saturday night recording for you guys. So as soon as I get done here, I am headed out. My uncle came to town. Loyal listener, by the way.
There we go.
And I think you may have played football with his son, Tim Drake.
Yes, I did play with Tim.
Yeah. So Tim's my cousin.
Okay.
So his dad came to town. I'm gonna roll over there and hang out with him. Got the other side of the family coming to town tomorrow. Jaden's bowling a tournament tomorrow. I'll go watch him in the morning. So yeah, busy as always. Kind of like it has been for the Buckeyes.
Yes, man. Busy.
So yeah, as far as the Buckeyes go, we always start with OSU stuff. This week's no different. Monday morning is actually kind of early. We started off with a boom that, we text Sunday night. I'm like, dude, there's a lot of smoke out there that, there's crystal balls coming in, future casts. Zion Grady, number 6 ranked player in the state of Alabama, number 10 edge nationally. This kid, it's one of those things, that gives us 2 of the top 6 players in the state of Alabama. With a chance, we're trying to flip a third. So right now, you look at the state of Alabama, the top 6 players in the state. 3 are Auburn commits, 2 are Ohio State commits.
Yeah.
That's wild. What do you see in Grady?
Listen, man, when this kid committed, I was extremely shocked. He is your classic, when you think of the SEC defensive end, this is who you think of. You think of that freak athlete who is long and rangy, can get after the quarterback in a lot of different ways, and just has a ton of athleticism. He is that to a T. And to get somebody from the state of Alabama who is not far from Auburn, he lives very close to Auburn, to be able to get him. The Buckeyes had a plan. When Saban retired, they said they're going to get down into Alabama and they're going to go after these guys. And so I love it, man. We got some clips. We'll share the screen here and get this pulled up. But this is a kid that I'm excited about. I know it's a long way until National Signing Day, so a lot of things can happen. And those are things you got to worry about sometimes when you have the guys in the South. But this kid can ball, So here we go. The kid is just he just does stuff like that. I mean, there's really not much you can say about making a play like that. But you can look at him. He's lean. He is not somebody that is going to be like an overweight kid. Like, he is a lean kid who's going to only get he's only going to get bigger. He's got a little bit of that Zach Harrison build when Zach Harrison came to Ohio State. Obviously, he's more of a natural pass rusher. You can see him just dominating that tackle right there. But this is a guy that you want. You can put him you can put him to the field. You can put him to the boundary. I mean, he's just going to be hard to block. He's the type of guy that in year 2, year 3, you're going to have to devote a running back to help chip him because you don't want him one-on-one with your offensive tackle. He does have some inside-outside versatility. Now, that is just because, he's in high school. I think with Ohio State, he's going to be strictly an edge player, but, he has got the potential to be an absolute baller for us. And the one thing I love about him, his get-off, his explosiveness, those are things that you can't really teach. You just really fine-tune. And so you can see how explosive he is off the ball. That is a fantastic play. He's a kid that's unblockable every time. So to go down to the heart of Alabama, deep south, and go get this kid is a big thing. And like you said before we got on here, man, the downfall of Larry Johnson was very overstated. I will tell you this. The one thing that I do think is being underrated in all of this is Alan Clark and his connections that he has to the South. This is a guy who has come in, and now that the NCAA has changed the rule that you can have all these unlimited on-field and in-practice coaching, I think guys like Alan Clark, you're going to see them go from being GAs to, the true assistant defensive line coach, and he has got ties to the South, and so he's been able to build a real relationship with these guys. And you get to see Alan Clark. He was posting clips on Twitter the other day where he's working with NFL players, who are going out of their way to find a way to pay this guy to come, work with them. And so he's a pass rush specialist. He's paying off dividends both on the field and in the recruiting world. So that's a huge pickup, man. Yeah, Zion he's a baller. I know it's a long way till signing day. Like we said, like getting those guys from the South, you got to continue to recruit them. But, shout out to Coach Johnson and Coach Clark for getting this one done because this kid can play.
Yeah, and he started peer recruiting right off the rip.
Yes, he did.
Malik Autry, we talked about him a little bit last week. Another Alabama kid. Serious flip vibes there. We'll see. I mean, he doesn't seem like a game player from the little bit you see. Has made a comment about wanting to have a decision made, even though you already committed somewhere. Rocking OSU gear today. I think he was rocking OSU gear at might have been the Rivals camp.
I think it was.
Where the OSU D lineman cooked at the Rivals camp, by the way. And TSC did too.
Yes, he did.
So it's a good time. A pretty expected one. Also this week, a guy we've talked about being an Ohio kid, kind of a kid that got his offer. I don't want to say out of nowhere, but it was almost a luxury to take a second tight end. OSU was in a spot where with Nate Roberts you didn't have to, but Brody Lennon earned an offer. Ohio kid, and we were talking before we came on. The kid's legit. If you watch and his measurables, and he's fast, he's got great hands, he runs good routes, but he's physical enough to be a blocker too.
Yeah, and he's pretty good on defense too. He's a pretty good defensive end for his team up in the Cleveland area. This kid, and we'll pull up some clips of him here. Listen, I will always root for these Ohio kids going to these camps. I sound like a broken record because I've said it a million times, but this is a kid who went to Ohio State and forced Coach Key's hand. He forced Coach Bailey's hand. Coach Bailey watched this guy in practice and said, I can't let this kid leave the state of Ohio. And so shout out to him for going to do that. Brody Lennon, he is 6'4", 235, 240-ish pounds. He's a leaner guy, but man, this kid can play. He can do a little bit of it all. You can see his 40 time. They say that he's a little bit bigger than 220 right now. Ran a 4.5, had 13 sacks on defense. The kid is, let me turn the volume off. The kid is an absolute stud for his team. I love that this is the first play that he puts on there because it's just an effort play. Where he just doesn't give up on the play, finds a way to go chase it down, and might have forced a fumble and got the ball back to his team. But this is a kid who went out and earned the offer. He's got great hands, great athleticism. He's going to be a good blocker for us, and these are the type of guys that you want. The one thing I love about this is the way Ohio State handled this. like you said, taking a second tight end was a luxury, but they made sure they contacted Nate Roberts to say, like, hey, this is a kid who kind of forced our hand. He can play. I want you guys to get with each other and meet each other. I mean, you look at his burst right there. I mean, that's phenomenal. And so they hung out on Brody's official visit, and they hit it off, and now he's in the class. I know there's a lot of people out there that are talking about, he plays at Gilmore Academy, which is a Division III program up in the Cleveland area. A lot of people talk about this level of competition. That is not something that I am super concerned about. I mean, one of the teams that they played, they lost to, but they played against Via Angela St. Joe's, where Bo Jackson's from. And so, like, he does play good competition. The one thing that I want to see, like how quick he was getting off the ball, that's awesome. The one thing that I want to see from these guys with the lower level competition is, do they dominate? And this kid was a dominant figure all season long on both sides of the ball. And so when he went to Ohio State camp, he was not out of place. And you can just see it on the film, man. His athleticism pops, and he's an extremely physical player. So I think Ohio State, I guess you could consider this a diamond in the rough. I think Ohio State, found somebody that a few years down the road is going to be really good for us. And also, I mean, you look at the tight end room, you got G. Scott, who's going to be leaving after this year. I think Will Kazmarek has 2 years left, so who knows what he's going to do. But after that, you're talking about, Patrick Gerd, he'll be gone after this year. And then you're looking at Max and Jelani Thurman as your main guys in that tight end room. So to get 2 guys in this tight end class is actually not, a bad thing. And so Brody Lennon, shout out to you, man, for taking care of business and getting this offer. I think the Buckeyes did a really good job of finding this kid.
Yeah, for sure. And, you hit on something with the D3 thing. I can't think of what class the kid is in, but there's going to be another kid. He's not a 25 kid. The kid from Sandusky Perkins is probably going to get an Ohio State offer. I mean, let's be honest.
And Sandusky Perkins is pumping out talent right now. They are pumping out talent. They've got 4 kids in the 25 class alone that are going to play Power 5 football. Yep. And then they have another kid who their 5th kid committed to Harvard. They got some dudes up there, man.
And they also have the number 1 ranked T-ball pitcher in America in softball, and Ren Whaley. Let's not forget that.
It's in her DNA. It is in her DNA.
Absolutely. But there's not a sport, obviously her mom was a fantastic softball player. Her dad is the dude who, you want to go golf? Okay, I'm going to go basically be a scratch golfer. Yeah. Jaden wants to get him out on the pickleball court, and I'm like, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
So it's in her blood.
That's awesome.
We're not done with booms for the week, though.
No.
This one, there was some smoke there, but a kid who you just didn't hear a lot about on the crystal ball game, or I don't feel like he played the recruiting game a lot. No. We talked about Trajen Odom. 24/7's got him as a 3-star. He's a composite 4-star, though. Ranked player in the state of North Carolina, which don't sleep on North Carolina as a football state.
Absolutely not.
And number 31 ranked defensive lineman in the country. So again, the rumors of Larry Johnson are seriously overstated.
Absolutely. This is honestly, out of all the commits, and I was, Zion, I was extremely excited about. Brody, I'm excited about. But this kid, I feel like he is a very underrated player. Trajen Odom, like you said, from North Carolina. He's moved around schools a little bit. 6'4", 280 pounds. He is what you would think of like a true 3 technique that is going to be playing over the guard. He is going to be a penetrator, that's going to be a disruptor. He'll play in the backfield a ton, and he will be able to get after the quarterback and just be such a disruptor in the passing game. He's very explosive off the ball. He's got long arms. I mean, you saw, the way he just pushed that guard back right there. He's a big kid, but if you look at him, he is not like a fat 280 pounds man.
This kid lean too.
He's lean, and he's got the range. I mean, you see when he gets to moving, like slanting and angling and things like that, that is where he is at his best. He does a great job of playing with his hands, but I think his athleticism is going to take him to the next level for us. This is is a kid that I'm extremely excited about. He's going to be extremely difficult to block. I don't want to say I get Mike Hall vibes from him, but I think if you're looking at a player comp, I think he would be very, very in the same atmosphere of a Mike Hall. So, this kid, man, I'm just excited about him. And you could see like just the quickness for his size. He's hard to block. I mean, he just went through 3 guys right there. This is another kid, though, where they talk about his level of competition. And it's like, okay, do you physically dominate that level of competition? If you do, okay, good. When you go to these camps, are you a dominant player? This guy has gone to these camps and been a very dominant player. So, and look at his offer list too. I mean, he had some really good offers from everywhere in the country, pretty much. So this is a stud, man. So getting Trajen Odom, I think his name is fantastic. It makes me think of what was Trajen Langdon? Was that his name?
From Duke.
That played for from Duke. Yeah, that makes me
the Alaskan assassin.
Trajen Odom, very good player. Yeah, very good player. Coach Johnson identified this guy and was like, okay, we got to get him in the class, and here he is. And so adding to that defensive line room, which I don't think we're done adding to that defensive line room, is fantastic. So this is a kid that I think is a stud.
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of the recap of the week on the good front. Shaping up to potentially get some more good news this week. We've got Maxwell Roy announcing Monday night at 7. Monday night. That one, we've talked about him for a long time. He was trending to the team up north. And out of nowhere, there's a lot of smoke. The crystal balls are rolling in. Fingers crossed on July 3rd. Justin Hill. Damian Shanklin's announcing on the 5th, but it sounds like he's going to the Bayou. And then there's a whole lot of smoke out there that Riley Pettijohn is committing on Monday to somewhere.
Would be huge. That would be huge if we were able to pick him up.
A lot of the big name guys, like the Wilfongs and stuff, have not gone as far as to put a crystal ball in or change a crystal ball. But, I'm this close. So that's going to be really interesting. That's a massive get. If you get Riley Pettijohn, TJ Alford, and Lee from Akron Hoban.
Yeah.
For James Laurinaitis' first class.
That's solid, man. And I love it because you're getting, 3 different types of linebackers that fit specifically within our scheme. And we've said it a million times about recruiting to your scheme and not recruiting to the stars. The Buckeyes have done that. The thing that I've noticed is that we're recruiting towards our scheme, but these scheme players are 4- and 5-star guys.
Exactly.
And so when you identify those guys, you go out and get them. And so if Coach Laurinaitis if Threes is able to pull this off, man, like that'll be huge, to add to that linebacker room. One quick note on Maxwell Roy. You're talking about him, defensive tackle. He's been trending towards Michigan. One of the things that people have been kind of concerned about with him is, I believe, recently or late in workouts, he tore his ACL, and so there are some concerns with that. And so for the Buckeyes, that could actually turn out to be a very good thing, because I think Maxwell Roy is a very, very good player, and he might, start off a little behind, but that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, just like Peyton Pierce, he started off injured when he came to Ohio State. Peyton Pierce is going to be a stud for us down the road. And so the same thing could be said for Maxwell Roy. If he does end up in this class, give him some time to recover. And the Buckeyes, again, are identifying the talent and working to make sure that you are developing that talent as well. And so I think that would be another good get if we're able to get him. And I don't think any of that, if Jakeem Stewart reclassifies, I don't think any of that would affect him either, because, Jakeem Stewart is one of those generational guys, man. If you can get him in the class, you got to get him.
Rocking those state gloves at the rivals camp.
Yeah.
And, going up against kids that are a year older than him, him and the Alabama O lineman about threw down.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a, if you don't know what we're talking about, at the rivals camp, one-on-one reps, Jakeem Stewart, this kid's going to be a junior unless he reclassifies. Going against a kid who's committed to Alabama, and they both won a round. There were 2 rounds that there are clips of, but there were some words exchanged. Those camp circuits get pretty intense.
They do.
You're trying to show off essentially.
Yeah.
And the Alabama kid was real quick to put his hands up. Like, come on, man. Like, have some class. You said something about Stewart reclassifying. That's been a rumor. We may have got some clarity. We've talked about wide receiver recruiting a lot on here because, Hartline has established himself as the GOAT. But we feel like, Vernell Brown's going to Florida. Jamie French doesn't even talk about Ohio State now. Now, this was interesting. The Wilfong came out and said, do not discount Ohio State for DeCorian Moore today.
Okay. All
said that, the vibe he gets is that he wants to leave Texas to play football. So we'll see. But in the always, Hartline has a plan. There, Tom Loy, Notre Dame guy. But when it comes to non-Notre Dame issues, the guy's almost always spot on.
Yeah.
I'll give him his flowers there.
Yeah.
Said there have been discussions about Chris Henry Jr. reclassifying to the 25 class. That would explain why Ohio State is not pushing hard for any of the big fish, because Chris Henry's better than all of them.
He's better than all of them. Better.
I mean, to get 2 years of J.J. Smith with Chris Henry, that's Olave Wilson type vibes.
Dude, that is dangerous. I think of a world where we have, JJ and Chris Henry out on the outside with Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis playing in the slot. I mean, Brandon Ennis is a kid that, we've really stopped talking about, but I that is a guy that I think is going to be. I think he's going to be a dog. Preston Bowman gives me some Brandon Ennis vibes. It's one of the reasons why I want him in this class. But to add Chris Henry to this 25 class would be huge. He's physically ready to do it. I mean, look at the kid, just like his dad. Rest in peace to his dad. His dad was just one of those freak athletes that could do anything, was a freaking monster, was such a good size. And his son has inherited those traits. And so physically right now, he could go be a college freshman and probably be pushing for playing time. I'm not going to say he's J.J. Smith. J.J. Smith is on he's just built different. But Chris Henry is not far off. He's right there together. So if we could get him to reclassify, which, again, if the family decides it's what they want to do, I know, I believe Pac-Man is his guardian now with his mom as well. So it's like, if that's what they decide to do, hey, you guys, Pac-Man has all the resources around him that would, Adam Pac-Man Jones, who we're talking about, played for the Bengals, longtime NFL cornerback who was really good friends with Chris Henry Jr.'s father. And so he took his son in and has been helping guide him throughout this entire process. He has every resource possible, every smart person around him that would help him make an informed decision. And so if their family comes to the consensus that this is what is best for him, by all means do it. If you decide like, hey, we want him to be a high school kid, I support that 1,000%. These are business decisions, just like with Sonny Styles. You know what I mean? Like, those are business decisions that the family are trying to capitalize on. No need to wait around. Let's go ahead and get him, one more year of high school ball and get him to where he needs to be so that he can go to the NFL draft and be extremely young when he's drafted. And so now you're talking about, and this is the long game they're thinking about. Now you're talking about after that rookie contract, you're only 24 years old. And so now you're talking about possibly getting 2 more big contracts. And so they're thinking about that long game. And for guys like Chris Henry, for guys like J.J. Smith, for guys like Sonny Styles, I know J.J. didn't reclassify, but those freak athletes, I totally get why you would think about the long game. And so I hope it happens, but if it doesn't, he's going to go out and do his thing. And I think he's a pretty rock solid commitment to the Buckeyes either way.
Yeah, I hope so. Obviously, recruiting is not always sunshine and rainbows.
Yep.
I've made mention numerous times, as have you, about how big of a pain in our ass Oregon is going to be.
Absolutely.
So Oregon is on fire. Jordan Davison, we've talked about him a lot, committed to Oregon. You can read between the lines that it sounds like, for multiple reasons, Ohio State had cooled off on him. And something happened on his official visit that really sealed that deal. And I'm going to get on soapbox. And I guess before we get on the soapbox, probably in one of the bigger shockers of the recruiting cycle, about 2 hours ago, Dorian Brew committed to Oregon.
Yep.
That one came out of nowhere. I mean, we knew Brew was committing this weekend. It had been talked about. But it was always thought to be Ohio State, Texas, maybe USC. But then out of nowhere, he circles back to Oregon. This is a kid we talked about, mom's in the Ohio State Hall of Fame, moved to Texas. Super, super talented kid. And the other thing I just thought about there's talk that he wanted to play receiver.
Yeah.
So maybe that's some of it too. I don't think this one's over by any stretch. I think this will go till December. But I'm going to get on a soapbox about Ohio State fans, especially with Davison. Guys, just because it didn't work out, Jordan Davison has put on some weight.
Yeah.
He is either, for whatever reason, if it's off season or what. But now you see Ohio State fans, oh, we don't want him. We don't need him. Guys, if he would have chose Ohio State fans would have been ecstatic.
Yep.
Just like I've already seen people talking about Dorian Brew. And, yes, Dorian Brew is almost a luxury in this class. And that's crazy to say because the kid is a freak.
Yeah.
Now it's a bag drop. Is NIL involved? 100% the kid's too good for it to not be. There are certain recruitments that are NIL driven. And it may not be the player driving the NIL situation. Keon Keeley, great example. There's always an uncle involved, or he's going to Oregon, it's Nike money. I don't think Dorian Brew is an NIL recruitment at all. And you're allowed to use NIL as part of your decision. We're seeing it with David Sanders.
Yep.
Who, fingers crossed, again, there's a lot of really, really, really positive smoke out there. Yeah. But Ohio State are notorious for just absolutely shitting on people who don't Ohio State. We'll use Justin Scott as the example. Decommitted out of nowhere, flips to Miami, literally has a stack of cash on his commitment graphic. Cool. You're a Chicago kid trying to provide for your mom. Take the money.
Yeah.
We can't sit here and tell the Ohio State recruits, go get your bag.
Yeah.
But if let's go chase a bag, we've just got to be better.
Got to be better. And the thing is, my biggest thing when it comes to recruiting is you don't know other people's motivations. At the end of the day, I know you and I, if we were to ever be recruited, we are diehard Buckeye fans. We're going to go be in Ohio. We're going to go to Ohio State no matter what. But some people have different motivations. And so whatever that family's motivation is to make sure that their kid is getting the best opportunity possible, what they deem to be the best opportunity possible, then shut up and let it be. These are high school kids that are being thrown money and things like that since when are they prepared for that? You know what I mean? And so if the money is a motivation for them, let that be the motivation for them. Who cares? You know what I mean? And the other thing is too, let's not act like these guys are going to some ragtag program or some terrible coach. Danny Lanning's a real deal.
Oh, he
is a great football coach. He is a fantastic football coach. And I will go as far as saying if Ryan Day, if they were ever to move on from him, Danny Lanning's going to be a guy, not say I don't want them to move on from Coach Day. I love Coach Day. But if they were to ever, years down the road, move on from Coach Day, they're going to go recruit that guy to come be the next coach at Ohio State. Just a fact. He is that good of a coach. And so sometimes they go to pull one over our head, and that happens. It is okay. You know what I mean? And like you said, with Brew, it's not over. We'll see. If he wants to play receiver, great. If he doesn't want to compete, that sucks, because I think he could be such a great player in this class. He's so versatile in the secondary. With Jordan Davison, man, like, running back is one of those positions where you want guys who want to be there. And Ohio State right now has two guys that want to be Buckeyes. And so, like, that is a spot where, hey, I got an Isaiah West, I got a Bo Jackson, who are both highly, rated players that can ball. Jordan Davison is a luxury. And if it would have been Jordan Davison before Bo Jackson, okay, like, we would have been excited about it. We would have been banging our chests and talking about how excited we are. So, let these kids make decisions that they feel is best for them and their family. And, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, well, he might pop in the portal, and where might he end up? Might end up being a Buckeye.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so I don't like when we get online and bash these kids, man. They're freaking kids. They are kids at the end of the day. And so, sucks. The Brew one hurts. Davidson, like you said, I think they cooled on him. They may have cooled on Dorian Brew as well. Maybe he didn't want to come in and compete. There was some people talking about that he wanted to play early. And at Ohio State right now, that's going to be very tough to play in that secondary early. People forget, Aaron Scott and Bryce West were in the class
Calvin
last
Simpson
year.
Hunt. I mean,
Calvin Simpson Hunt. Yeah, those are all guys that wanted to play early. And when they came in, they're like, dang, like, okay, maybe it won't happen, but it might happen in year 2, year 3. And so, Dorian Brew, wherever you end up, which, you're at Oregon right now, shout out to you, man. It's awesome. Wish you were a Buckeye, but hey, man, we got to move on, and then we'll identify somebody else, and we'll go get them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they circle on both of those positions. Running back, obviously, I think there's probably only 2 names, unless, they go to an Ohio kid, and, Nino Hill maybe gets an offer or something if things don't fall. Anthony Rogers, obviously, I think is going to be very, very much in play now. Going back to the state of Alabama.
Insane.
And it'll be interesting to see. And I wonder if this wasn't Coach Locke playing chess, because we talked about Shakai Mills-Knight and his and we'd be surprised if he made his visit because of the Davidson smoke. And that visit never happened.
Yeah.
But did Coach Locke say, hey, stay home this weekend, I got some business to deal with, i.e. telling Jordan Davidson, we don't think we're the right fit. And then you get Shakai Mills-Knight back by himself to focus on him.
Yeah.
That will be very, very interesting to see.
Yeah.
At corner, I think the one kid, Delhomme, Messiah Delhomme?
Yeah, Messiah Delhomme.
He can play both. And that's kind of what, Brew is that hybrid corner safety guy.
Yep.
I think Delhomme can fill that void. But as we've talked throughout since we've been doing this, you got to look for those Ohio kids in this type of situation.
Yeah.
Is this where Dwayne Galloway gets his offer?
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, I would get it. Dwayne Galloway came down and camped, and, he did a good job. Bill Krulik and a few of the other guys were talking about how well he did and how many reps he won. He's a little on the leaner side, and so I'm sure they would want him to get bigger. But, if it works out for him, it works out. The kid can fly. And so he might be a kid that needs a couple years to develop. And right now, that might be what Ohio State needs in the secondary. I mean, we're pretty loaded when it comes to what's there now and what's coming. And so, if he's willing to do that and the Buckeyes are wanting to pull the trigger, it's like with Preston Bowman, down at Pick North. Like, those are the things that, you just got to wait on. And so if it works out for Dwayne, that'd be great. We will always, pound the table for Ohio kids to get in the class.
Yeah, for sure. We were going to jump into a question we got inboxed to us this week, but I think we're going to hold off, because I think we're going to have a chance in July really, I don't want to shortchange this subject.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and read the question so everybody can kind of get their wheels spinning. But I feel like this deserves more time than we would be able to give it just throwing it in.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read the whole message. With just hearing about the hard commit of Trajen Odom from NC, I have a question for the two of you guys. Attached is a photo up to date of hard commits and their star rankings in state. I know stars don't matter. What are your guys' thoughts on the landscape of college football recruiting moving forward in the NIL world? And how does this impact previous traditional pipeline states for the Buckeyes moving forward? Do you guys see OSU recruiting harder more in places like the Deep South or the Pacific West Coast? Amazing question, honestly.
Yeah. There's there's a lot with that, man. That's a good
So
question.
we don't want to shortchange that. And with the number of commits that are possibly on the verge of popping, that's going to give more data for that. So, I don't want to shortchange it. I think with the dead period coming up, we're going to have time to do that as a main topic.
Yeah.
So I wanted to throw it out there, though, because we do read these things when you guys send them in. And I love that subject because there has been a very big shift on that front, even from Meyer to Ryan Day.
Yep.
So I'll just throw it out there. Ryan Day does not recruit Florida the way Urban Meyer did.
No.
Ryan Day recruits a different state more.
Yeah.
So that's your teaser. And we'll get the data to back it up.
Yeah.
I don't want to shortchange that topic at all. Last thing for kind of the Ohio State side of life, Gene Smith wrapped up his tenure this week. Dude had he had Tatgate.
Yeah.
He had Meyer thing. I think he fumbled the ball with Tatgate, but other than that, that guy did a lot of good.
Yeah.
Took him to come around to NIL, but I think he finally did toward the end.
Yep.
And I think that's part of why Ross Bjork became the guy to be the successor. Because not only does Ross Bjork understand NIL, but he understands that the facilities need upgraded at the same time.
Yep.
And Ohio is one of the few places you can sustain both.
Yeah. And shout out to Gene Smith, man. Listen, being the AD of any program, whether it's high school, middle school, doesn't matter. Being an athletic director is not easy. And so to be the athletic director at the Ohio State University is like one of the hardest jobs I could think of. And so, I know there are things that people used to be upset, why does he have so many programs? Why do he have so many teams? And blah, 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 blah. And listen, we could complain about all that stuff all we want. I will never complain about it because a lot of those sports that he has, I've got 4 daughters. And so, or 3 daughters. God, I don't know where the
something you're not telling us.
well, my wife's going to murder me for that one. I got 3 daughters. And so like a lot of those women's sports and things that he has, it's just like, dude, that's awesome. Like those are more opportunities for more kids. And so if there's a rowing team, there's a rowing team. If there's a shooting team, there's a shooting team. Like if there's a fencing team, that's great. And so he wasn't just about growing football, which I think football grew underneath him.
Oh, yeah.
He was about growing the brand of Ohio State. And he never lost sight of what, helped fund all of those programs. It's the football program, but to give more kids opportunities across the country and in the state of Ohio, that's what it's about, man. And so shout out to him for taking care of business and doing those things. I think the NIL world was going to be a lot for him. And so I think he's riding off into the sunset at the perfect time. And like you said, getting somebody like Ross Bjork from Texas A&M, who, they allegedly know a ton about money. And so to get him here, it's going to be a good fit for us. And, hey, you had a good career, man. You're retiring from Ohio State. Like, can't ask for anything better.
No, not at all. Not at all. Pretty quiet week. And we had the NBA draft. So, that's the primary.
Hey, really quick before we move on to that, one little nugget football-wise for the Buckeyes. The NCAA did approve them or football staffs allowed to have pretty much unlimited coaches. And so now those guys that you see on the sideline, like a Coach Hinton, who don't have headsets on, are going to now be able to wear headsets and be able to coach hard in the game and in practice. Why is this important to us? What did Ryan Day need to do to be successful? He needed to be the CEO, right? Well, he brought a former head coach and Chip Kelly, and he brought Jim Knowles in. Well, if you've ever been to a practice, if you watch Jim Knowles is the CEO of the defense. He is not fully hands-on with one specific position group. He bounces around. Does he focus on the linebackers more? Yes, but now that Threes is a full-time coach, he's going to really be bouncing around, and this is one of the reasons why our defense was able to make such a huge improvement. Where does that benefit Ohio State offense? Well, now Ohio State is now going to be able to have Chip Kelly in that same type of position where he can bounce around and coach and help out with each specific position group, where somebody like a Riley Larkin and like Billy Fessler can take over the quarterbacks and coach the quarterbacks while he is maybe working with the offensive line that has a lot of question marks. Maybe he's working with the tight ends or something like that. And so you were going to see Ohio State's team, in my opinion, function from a schematic and analytics standpoint at a much higher level than they have been in the years past, because you're going to be able to have so many more people on a headset. And this is huge. You're going to see a lot more jobs open up in these colleges now too. Years down the line, maybe I'll apply for one, but there are a lot of jobs that are going to start opening up. You're going to see the coaching pay go up a little bit for those jobs, not maybe the top jobs, but those lower level analyst jobs where they're making, $40,000-$50,000 a year. You may see those rise to $90,000 to $100,000 a year or more, because now they're able to actually coach. And so this is big. This is a big thing for the Buckeyes. It's a big thing for these big programs who have a ton of guys. You look at Alabama. If Alabama was able to have all those analysts
under Saban,
under Saban, be able to be a full-time coach, like it would have been. It was already a dream team of staff, but now it would be out of this world. And so this is big for the Buckeyes, and I think it's a perfect year for it to happen because there's such high expectations. Allow Chip Kelly to be that mad scientist and focus on the big picture, and let his little guys underneath, the soldiers, do all the grinding and all the work so he can start cooking on Saturdays. And so it's a big thing. I know I just nerded out for a second on that stuff, but it's from a program standpoint, as a head coach, you are now allowed so much more freedom because your coordinators have more freedom. And I cannot stress how important that is at a place like Ohio State, to have your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator pretty much be the head coach of the offense and the head coach of the defense. Now they don't have to worry about coaching a position. They're going to be involved, but they don't have to be the full-time position coach anymore. So this is a big, big thing for the Buckeyes and big thing for college football.
Yeah, I honestly forgot that was this week. I already thought it was last week. That's why, it kind of slipped my mind. But you're essentially adding an entire level to the coaching tree now.
Oh yeah.
On stat. So, I think to put it in black and white, say Larry Johnson, for example, Larry is not getting any younger. Say Larry wants to move to the box.
Yep.
You can now have Alan Clark on the sideline with a headset. You can now have Devin Jordan on the sideline with a headset.
Yep.
I think with this, one guy to keep an eye on now with this change, I think this is where you finally, I'm going to give a hot take. This is where Joe Thomas Barrett returns to Ohio State.
Yeah, man.
Because now
I can see it.
Getting paid in the NFL.
Yeah.
Say a dude like, I don't think he would ever give up the media gig, but say a dude like Bobby Carpenter decides he wants coaching. This is perfect.
Yeah.
This is essentially what James Laurinaitis and Brian Hartline did, but they were not headsets.
Yep.
You know, we know that Coach Day leans very heavily on Coach Hinton.
Yeah.
You know, now you've got him. You know, Tim Hinton will have a headset on. Like, let's
Oh
be
my
honest.
gosh. I was just texting him about it the other day once the rule came out. I'm sure he's extremely excited about it. And so, yeah, man, like it is a good, you know, I know there's so many things behind the scenes that people don't think of when it comes to, you know, football, but the logistical side of things just got a lot easier for the head coach. And so you can give more and more ownership now to those coordinators, and that is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. Now the other part of it too, you're not going to see a lot of special teams coordinators anymore, in my opinion. Guys, you know, gosh, I just drawing a blank on his name. He was the head coach at Finley University of Finley. God, I forgot his name.
But he has taken over special teams at Ohio State already.
Yeah. So he's doing the kicking and stuff. So now on Saturday, he's able to wear a headset. Now he can really run those special teams. You know, the guy that's working with him, those are guys that are going to have much more responsibility now because on game day, they can take over and coach the special teams. And now you freed up your position coaches a little bit. So I'm excited about this, man. This is big. This was something I was really looking forward to, and you know, this is a good situation, and it opens up so much more opportunities for younger coaches who want to get into the game. You know, like all around, man. This is just a good thing for college football.
Yeah, I mean, they got that one right. They didn't approve the early signing period, but that doesn't surprise anybody because it's the NCAA and they suck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, I totally forgot about that one, but that's huge. And that's, you know, that's bigger than a lot of folks realize. But once you see in action, it will really be awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's all we've got for the Buckeye world now.
Yeah.
Good week, you know, good week on deck, hopefully. You know, so we'll pivot to our around the sports world real quick. NBA draft, probably the most boring draft in a long time because it was one of those drafts where, you know, nobody stands out.
Yeah.
But obviously the big topic of the draft is Bronny James. The Lakers took him at pick 55, and you've got so many people screaming nepotism already. And I'm like, look, this kid is lucky to be alive, for one. And he is no slouch.
Nope.
He is a very talented basketball player. You know, I just think, you know, the other thing that I thought about is, you know, just the whole vibe at USC kind of seemed off because, you know, they had the Collier kid too.
Yeah.
Who was a stud in high school.
Yeah.
And ends up going like late first round.
Yeah.
But like second round picks in the NBA are for projects.
Absolutely.
You know, outside of, you know, the guys who become stars out of the second round are not a lot. You know, the Lakers took a chance essentially. What's the difference between drafting Bronny James and we'll say DJ Burns, you know, who didn't get drafted, but the Cavs signed immediately after the draft to a summer league deal.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll see what happens. I mean, there's a chance Bronny makes that run.
Yeah, and the thing is, man, like people talk about nepotism, and it frustrates me to no end. Why does it frustrate me? Because nepotism has been happening in every major corporation, every major industry, every major sports program ever. Those things happen. It's always, when I got into the coaching world, when I got into the teaching world, there were people who told me it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? And so what do we do when we go and we apply for jobs? If we know somebody that has a connection at the job, we reach out to them, right? We're taking advantage of our resources. There is nothing wrong with that. Bronny James's resource just happens to be one of the three greatest basketball players of all time, and his dad. And if it's not, and Bronny's not a slouch. Like, the kid can play. Did he have a great season at USC? Heck no. The kid almost died. Almost died. Like, Wrap your head around that for 1 second. The kid had sudden cardiac arrest and was fighting for his life, and then was months later cleared to play basketball. Like, to expect him to come in and average 15 and do all these different things is mind-blowing. Like, he's a child. He's a kid. Let him develop and let him grow. Did LeBron have a part in this? Duh. Absolutely he did. Absolutely he did. But at the same time, I love the fact that you don't hear LeBron voicing or being boisterous about how great his son is, or he talks about he's very realistic about his child. His son was a second round pick. Do I think he has the ability or traits or athleticism to make an NBA roster? Absolutely. But for second round picks, those chances of them actually making the roster are very, very slim. He might be a guy who plays in the G League for the first 6 years of his NBA career. And that's okay. Like, let this kid have his journey. Let him have his moment. The kid almost died. I want people, many of our listeners have children. If my daughter, if there's anything I can ever do to help any of my kids further their lives and get ahead in life, I am doing it. And if you have a problem with it, you can kiss my you-know-what. Like, I'm going to help my kid get to where they have to be. And if you don't like it, sorry, bud. That's just the way it is. LeBron has been a model of what being a good parent has been. Like, he is a model of it, and he is there for his kid. Do I think there were other people that probably deserved an opportunity before Bronny? I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are, and I know that's a problem, and it may be something that upsets some people. Okay. But he's a kid. He is a kid. Let him go out there and develop and write his own story. All right. If Michael Jordan's kids were as good at basketball as Bronny was, as Bryce is, MJ would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
He would have done the same exact thing. And so if he flakes out and doesn't make it to the NBA and has to go overseas and play, that's his story, and that's okay. He's a second round pick. I don't understand why this is such a controversial thing. Like,
right.
It's a second round pick.
Not like he was a lottery pick.
Yeah, like, come on, man. And it wasn't like he went to the combine and embarrassed himself. Like, he went to the combine and did very well.
He killed it.
Yeah, he did a really good job. And
He
so
killed it.
shout out to Bronny, man. I'm excited for him. I'm just glad he's healthy. To see him get emotional in that video when his name was called, like, I saw people on Twitter like, dude, you're a second round pick. Why are you crying? Well, because a year ago, the kid, yeah, it's your dream. And a year ago, you almost died. And the other part of it too is, for me, like, the fact that he's going to be playing with his dad, like, that is, I've never seen anything like that. Like, only like King Griffey Jr. and his dad, right? Like, that's the only thing that comes to mind. And so the fact that LeBron is still this high level player, and he's got his son who's going to be fighting to stay in the league, like, dude, it's just like, it's a phenomenal story. So shout out to Bronny, man. Don't listen to the hate. I'm sure you've probably been getting it your whole life, just like your dad has. Go out there, take care of business. Don't cry about nepotism, because the second, we cry about this, we look past what the owners have done and what Jerry Jones has done with his family, right? Well, Jerry Jones is supposed to do that with his family. Those are the freaking kids. He's supposed to set up his kids to be successful. Like, let it be, man. Just let it be.
Yeah. And people are going to be real salty in a couple of years, because Bryce James,
he's pretty good.
Legit.
He's pretty good.
Bryce James, definitely first round potential.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting Lakers tidbit that came out a little bit ago. Klay Thompson is going to meet with the Lakers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And LeBron is willing to take pay cut for Klay or James Harden or Valanciunas.
That's if I could make one knock on LeBron, all right, and everybody knows him and Tiger Woods, 1A, 1B. Like, it's him, Tiger Woods, King Griffey Jr. Those are my 3 favorite athletes of all time. I wish, like, dude, you're a billionaire. Nike's going to pay you and your family for the next 100 years. Like you have never, or you're never going to have anything to worry about. Why do you need $50 million a year? You've been in the league 20 years, dog. Like, I know you want to get your worth.
Take
Okay,
20. Let your team add some dudes. Like,
take 20, take 10. All right, I get it. I know that's my only gripe, man. That's my only gripe. Take the pay cut so you can go get some guys, and so you can go win a couple more championships. You can retire when you're 45, and I can stop arguing with people about why you're the GOAT, because it will just be a fact. Then it's like there's no other
right.
debate. It's just he's the GOAT. But yeah, take a pay cut, man. Take a pay cut.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. So this week, this is a couch potato talk episode. So we're gonna dive in. You know, we've made no bones about it that we are NCAA college football PlayStation fans. I still haven't brought myself to buy one yet so that I can play.
Me either. I know.
But
I want to so bad.
I do. Yeah, dude. So this week, some of the preliminary rankings came out. And I just thought, it'd be a good chance to dive into some of these. Because, I mean, they are trying to make this game very realistic. So the first set they put out were the top 10 toughest places to play. I'm not going to go through the whole top 10, but number 1 on their list is Kyle Field, Texas A&M. Number 2, Bryant-Denny, Alabama. Number 3, Tiger Stadium, LSU. OSU at number 4. I don't know that I agree with these. I think, to me, LSU is always going to be number 1 on that list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially at night. Texas A&M, they get rowdy. They don't call them the 12th man for nothing.
Yep.
But it's not hostile.
No.
LSU would be number 1. Penn State is 6th, which to me, again, is a little low.
Yeah.
The other thing that kind of stands out to me is no Oregon, which horror stories, not so much of the crowd, but the way that Autzen Stadium is built, the crowd is on top of you.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think number 4 is too high for Ohio State.
Yeah.
Even at night, Ohio State has become an interesting environment. It's a very tame environment. And I mean, I've watched people read books. I watched a lady knit in the middle of the Miami game. And but obviously I've played nice for a couple of weeks. So of course Miami's not on the top 10 because they get like 1,000 fans. So
they don't even fill their stadium.
Right. So I thought that's interesting. Probably the most Ohio State complaint one, top 10 offenses. And again, I don't know that I agree with these. Georgia number 1, Oregon number 2. They're tied for the same overall though. Oregon, I can 100% see.
Yeah.
Georgia, I am not sold on Carson Beck. Alabama at 91, Texas at 91, and then Ohio State. Ohio State's tied with Miami, if that tells you anything. Miami got an 89 with a bunch of guys that they paid bags to come from Ohio State. Mark Fletcher, I'm looking at you. JoJo Trader, though. JoJo Trader is going to be a dog.
He's a stud. He is a stud.
But, I understand Ohio State not getting massive points at the quarterback position right now. Yeah. They're all either young or unproven. Or, like Will Howard is probably the least talked about transfer quarterback outside of, DeQuan Finn.
Yeah. I was just tweeting with our guys with the Scarlet and Gray podcast. Because they said, there's the Buckeye fans have given, Will Howard a lot of slander. And it's just I get it. The guy's not perfect, but you just need to go watch 2 games, and you can see the type of player that the Buckeyes believe that they are getting. The Big 12 championship from 2 years ago, was just a gritty performance. Didn't have the greatest stats, but he didn't turn the ball over, and did what he needed to do to go beat TCU in 2022. So, I mean, you know how good TCU was that year. And then the Texas game last year, like the guy threw for well over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did throw a pick. He had a nice long run where he ran away from everybody. Like, he's a gritty kid, man. Like, it's hard. He's not even throwing a pass for us. We're already, slandering his name,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I don't get that.
No, not at all. Now, this jumps out to me on top 10 defenses. So not only did Ohio State get ranked the number 1 defense at 96 overall, but the scores are much higher on the defensive side of the ball. OSU at a 96, Georgia 94, Oregon 90, Bama 90, Clemson 90, Michigan 90, Notre Dame 90. I would probably put Michigan a little bit higher. And OSU, obviously, Caleb Downs is probably going to be like a 98 on the game if I had to guess. So then that kind of brings it all together. Georgia's number 1 overall at 95, OSU and Oregon at 93, Bama, Texas at 92, and then Clemson at 90.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting to see all of these pieces come together in the game. But, I think the biggest thing to me is the Ohio State offense. Because I feel like Travion and Quinshawn and Emeka, really, and Donovan Jackson should add some serious weight to that offense.
They should.
So we'll see, though. I mean, like I said, that was just kind of a fun little not serious dive in.
Yeah.
But, we're like 3 weeks away from the game coming out, and my guys at work are going to throw it in my face that they're playing it, and I'm not if I don't buy a PlayStation. Jerome Douglas, Malachi Robinson.
Yeah.
Of course, Malachi is going to want to use Michigan, so I hope he gets.
I know. My guy Malachi, man.
Superfly Malachi.
I love that kid. God, I love that kid. He wore 25, man, and that because we talked about it, and he was like, "I think I'm gonna wear number 25." I almost started crying, man. That was like, he's like my kid, man. I love that. I love him so much. I'm glad he's doing well. Yeah,
he's such a good kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that kind of wraps up what I've got. I know you've got a bunch to do.
Yeah.
So we'll let you send it off with a shout out.
Hey, shout out to all the parents who have these large families that are bigger than 3 kids. Like, I don't know how the parents, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how my in-laws raise 4 children. I just don't get it. How you get ready for vacation and all that stuff. So shout out to them, because today and yesterday it's been crazy. But, we're going to be in northern Michigan, about 45 minutes south of Traverse City. And so I'm excited to be right on Lake Michigan, man. It's going to be great. Get away for a week, and then when we get back, man, we're gonna hit the ground running. So
yes, sir.
Football season is here officially.
We are 9 Saturdays away as we sit here from the Buckeyes. I've got the pick'em stuff almost finalized. I'm not going to do NFL. I decided. I think with our fan base, I think let's do NFL or let's do college. We may go to 2 guests a week though.
Okay.
And get more people involved, and so we'll see. But like I said, enjoy your week, everybody, and we are out of here.